You're at your first tournament, you volunteered to staff for the first time, and you've been assigned to table. But Hemascorecard is impenetrable to the layperson. That's what we've all been thinking this whole time because it's so difficult to understand. Fear not, today we're going to explain a thing or two about how to use it, just some basic stuff. So, in HEMA Scorecard, if you are not logged in to be staff at an event, you can only see things. So that's when you're competing, you can go into a tournament, you can go into their match, you can see who's competing, you can see the pool rosters, the standings, the bracket, etc. But when you are just not signed in to any of these events, and you're staffing, you need to sign into the event that you are staffing so you can access the back-end features. And you do that in the login page. So if you're at a tournament and they want you to use your own phone or your own laptop, then you open it, you go to hemascorecard.com, and you go in here and you log in. So the event staff can generally, manage fighters in pools. They can go in and change match scores and whatnot, but they can't edit the back-end settings and other such things that the TO needs if they need to alter the structure of the tournament, change the roster around, that kind of thing. So you are probably going to sign in as event staff. And here you can see all of the upcoming events for us right now. That is the only relevant one is the Chili Charity Challenge 2026. The password for staffing for which is CCC26. So we're going to log in. And now we can get to work. So we're going to go over to Staff Training Open Steel, where we have our two competitors here locked in a duel to the death. I've already generated a test pool for them to compete in, so we're going to go into pool matches. This is where your duty as a table begins. When you sit down to your table and your director and your judge go and gear check everyone, you need to be standing by waiting to check them in. So generally speaking, people check into HEMA Scorecard at the very beginning of an event when they walk in the door. When you give your name, you say, hey, I'm here. One person, if they're using HEMA Scorecard, is going to check you in so that you're present in the building at that point. But then each tournament has another check-in system, which generally people do either when you walk in the door and you just get entered into all of your tournaments, or they do this at the beginning of each individual tournament at an event. Doing it that way, each individual tournament at an event has the advantage of if someone left after their first tournament, or they were black carded, they get sick, whatever, you're not going to get a false positive for them being present. So when you go to generate a pool roster, you're not going to have as many ghost fencers. But anyway, you sit down to table, your laptop is in front of you, you're looking at this screen, your judge and your director are gear checking everyone. Someone forgets a gorget, someone doesn't have a chest protector, someone's using a 70-pound flex fetter. But that all gets resolved and everyone eventually passes gear check. So you're going to check all of these, and you are going to hit the update checkmark. The update checkmark updates all of them, everyone that is checked off. So this will check in all the fencers, and now you can see that they are all checked in. Now at this point we can go and we can start our actual pool. So when you are tabling, your director is, going to come up to you and say like, oh, let's get the show on the road, or oh, let's get it started, or, could you please announce the first match and who's on deck? So you're going to click on match 1, and that brings you into the match window. This is where the table really does all of their stuff. This is their bread and butter, and this is when you need to know how to navigate. So to navigate this, there's a couple of things we can go over. Firstly, display window. This button right here will bring up this pop-out window. If you're at a tournament where you are showing data to the fencers as they are in a match, say, you're inputting things onto a laptop, but you have a monitor that's facing towards the ring and towards the spectators, you can hit display window to pop out this window, and then you can drag it onto another monitor, and this will automatically update as the rest of the match is going. So I can put it into a tiny little box down there if that helps. No, that really doesn't. Anyway, so in this window, the way that we go from pass to pass is with this dropdown. This dropdown can look differently depending on how the tournament organizer has set it up behind the scenes, but specifically for the Chili Charity Challenge, this is what you need to know. We're going to be inputting the points fully for both fencers. This rule set also has doubles and afterblows scoring fully. So, if in the first pass Ella hits clean to deep target and parries the afterblow, Ella scores 3 points and Sawyer scores no points. While you're tabling, you're not going to have to think about who did what. Your director is going to say, for example, 3 points blue, and that's it. So you would just give 3 points to blue, and now you hit add clean hit. This button here is what takes everything from like the table out here. You know, this is on deck to go in, but this button right here actually adds things to the progression of the match, which is this rectangle down here. As you go through and you have more exchanges, you get more columns. Each column here is an exchange in the match. Now, one important thing to know when you're using Hemascorecard, every tournament organizer signs off and agrees that they will enforce their tables to add no exchanges. If your director and your judge, call an early hold, and then they conference and they're like, no, that was parried, and then they just go again, you don't just do nothing. You have to add a no exchange. Sean Franklin, this is where he gets his data. Bless his heart, he needs the best data we can get him, so we need to add our no exchanges when that's relevant. So, let's say Sawyer, in the next pass after their no exchange, where the judges, threw out a point or whatever, Sawyer hits deep for 3 points, and Ella afterblows shallow, which in this case is 2 points. Now we see that our add button here has automatically deduced this to be a bilateral hit. So we can add this, and it will do the math. 3 minus 2 is 1, Sawyer receives 1 point. But then, let's say that someone denies a point. Let's say Ella denies her afterblow. But, this happens all after you, the table, have already put this into Hemascorecard. Crap, what do we do? How do we get into the last exchange? Well, one way we could do it is clear last exchange. This is probably the fastest way to do it. You can go in here and match options, and you can edit past exchanges. But generally, that's usually for, after the match has finished. If you're tabling and you need to edit the last exchange, the fastest way to do it is just to clear last exchange. So we can check off this slider, and now the button where we do all of our work has gone to last exchange. So we just remove the last exchange. So Ella denied her afterblow. So in this case, Sawyer's initial 3-point hit is good and is a clean hit. Match tied, 3-3. Right now we have it going to first to 9. But pending testing of how long this takes, we might reduce that, or we might add a timer. If you are at a match where there is a timer, that timer is up here. It is a simple timer where if you click it, it is going. And then you click it again to stop. You can click it and it goes, you click it again, it stops. Typically, you hit the timer when the director says fence, and you stop it when they say hold. That's how most tournaments around here do it. There are a couple like AOA, a lot of European tournaments like HLO will have a running timer even during the judge's deliberation. So, if you're tabling, read the rule set, make sure you know whether or not the timer is going to stop while the judges are deliberating. In any case, it's been 9 seconds of fencing, we have another exchange. Ella hits for shallow, parries the afterblow, and we can see that this exchange gets put in at 9 seconds in the match. So as you go through a match, you can see when in the match individual exchanges happened. This is cool for people who stock Hemascorecard to look at international events that don't have a live stream, but for most people isn't actually that relevant. For our tournament right now, Chile Heritage Challenge 2026, we do not have enforced a timer. So we don't care and you don't have to worry about it. Alright, Ella is going to continue and be on a roll and hit clean 2 more times. Holy crap. So, because our point limit is 9, the match has automatically concluded. Ella reached 9, the winner is blue, and this is the end of the pool. But that was only a pool with literally 1 match. So, I think that we might want to, for example, make another pool with more fencers. So, how do we get fencers into a tournament? Let's say someone signs up last minute and they want to join our illustrious longsword staff training open steel. After all, our normal open steel wasn't prestigious enough, and we need more fencers in the staff training open steel. We can go to event information, event roster. This is where we do elements of administration like this, but us as a pathetic staff, we can't mess with that. We would need to be an organizer. Mysterious password there. Don't mess with my tournament, please. Alright, event information, event roster. Now here we can see that we can add our participants. This is also where we add new participants to the match. So if someone drops out and I have to get one of my waitlist fencers on here, I would add event participants. I would find what school they choose to associate themselves with. Sure, the Historical Europe Rapier Academy. I'm sure they have lots of fencers that want to come to the Chile Charity Challenge. So if we wanted, I don't know, Christian Zernisak, that's a cool name. We would select him into the dropdown, and we would fill in the tournaments for which he is going to attend. I will not actually add Christian because some people care about their Hemascorecard data. So let me find Black Cat out of our just lovely dropdown. There we go. Black Cat. Oh, am I? I was going to add myself, but maybe mine hasn't updated yet. Anyway, we're going to add Ian Alsobrook. We're going to add Connor Cayley. We're going to add Catherine Bancroft. We're going to add Shane Scallon. We're going to add them all to staff training open steel. Wow, that's a lot of people signing up at the last minute. That's cool. So we can add new participants, and now they are in here. And if we go over to select our tournament, staff training open steel, tournament roster, here they are in the roster. So now we can check them in. This is just a place where you can do it in bulk. We can gear check them. There is another way to do all of this at once. For example, if you check everyone off, you could, I don't know, other them. If this is some miscellaneous check-in that you want, Sean Franklin, bless his heart, gives us lots of options. Anyway, let's get them into our actual tournament. Pool rosters. Here, we can automatically generate pools. Exciting. We don't have to do that right now, and you don't have to worry about that for right now. But we're going to add our 4 other fencers right here. And we're going to select the pool. If you don't select the pool, it's not selected, obviously. So the fencers that you have designated to enter this pool won't get put into that pool when you hit the Add Fighters button. Generally, in Hemascorecard, just select everything. Every box that you can check whether or not, if you're messing with something in Hemascorecard, you should check the box. You should check the box. If you're pressing a button, make sure that it's looking at a checked box. An unchecked box, not going to do anything. Or, if it does, it'll be inconsistent. Just cover yourself, check your boxes. Now that we have 6 fencers in this pool, we can go over to pool matches. And look at that. We have so many matches to work with. So we can start with Shane versus Sawyer, a rematch of their goated match at Boris 2 2025. And, we can go through. Shane can, get some points. We can get some points. We can get a 3-2 afterblow in there. We can get a couple no exchanges. But, at the end of the day, Shane wins. Exceeds the 9-point limit. Now the point cap has been reached, the match is automatically concluded, and the winner is blue. So you would shout this out to your director and your judge. You would say, match blue. And now, you say, next match. Connor Cayley in blue, Ian Alsobrook in orange. This is also where you see who is on deck. So if we go back to the match list and back to this first match that is concluded, this is the next match. So, after you say, Connor Cayley in blue, Ian Alsobrook in orange, you would say, on deck, Catherine Bancroft in blue, Ella Rose in orange. That way the fencers who are on deck know that they are about to start fencing so they can put on their gear, get ready, drink water, and not delay our tournament. We have a lot of matches to get through, so we want to be quick. As a table, it is your responsibility to be loud and decisive and know who is up now and who is up next. So they're going to fence. Let's say, for example, someone has to drop, or they get black-carded, or whatever. For whatever reason, you have to end the match before it automatically concludes by one fencer reaching 9 points in this case. You can just click the winner button. Pretty intuitive stuff. And now you can move on to your next match. Bing, bang, boom. As a table, at some point you are likely to have to deal with penalties. One important thing, when you are beginning a match, you should see whether or not this red box has appeared. The prior penalties box appears if one of the fencers that is up right now has cards that have carried over from earlier in the tournament. Just about every tournament has rules where if you get too many cards of one type, they will escalate. It is your duty as the table to make sure you know who has what card and to read the rule set to find out when cards escalate or how many times they can stack before they become a red or a black or what have you. And you need to know this and tell the director if, for example, that was Blue Fencer's third yellow card, which became a red, or whatever it is for your rule set. So, let's say that Blue Fencer and Orange Fencer here double each other 2 points each, but Blue Fencer gets yellow carded for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. In the penalty and warning section, we're going to hit more, which opens this. You're going to insert the penalty to blue, so you check off who is getting the penalty. For the Chile Charity Challenge 2026, if you get a yellow card, that is a 2-point deduction. So in this case, point deduction, 2 points, boom. Violation, put in whatever suits the situation best. Your director will probably tell you, like hitting the floor, exposing the back, excessive force, hitting the foot, whatever. For now, we'll do unspecified. And this is the color of card. Yellow is a 2-point deduction, so you can add this, and it adds an exchange here with a 2-point deduction, reduces Blue Fencer's score, and lists another penalty in the prior penalties box. In this tournament, because it was a double, that means that Blue Fencer's score in the double is annulled, so Orange Fencer gets to hit clean, which in this case was 2 points. So we can then add a clean hit. So while exchange 9 and exchange 10 were in reality one exchange, because of the penalty, it's separated into 2. Now you keep going with the match as normal. If a fencer receives a red card, let's say Orange Fencer gets red carded, we're going to give Orange, whatever, red card, and then end the match, winner, the other fencer. Because in CCC26, red card is a match loss. Doesn't matter what the score is, you just lose. So you can just hit lose, and there we are doing this. The reason that this is slightly different from other New England and Black Cat tournaments is because of just the way that we are seeding the pools. One thing I really want to have is lots of even matches for fencers. That's why we're doing this 3-pool format. And you are ranked by number of wins and tie broken by points for divided by points against. A lot of tournaments in New England just do this by points against, which is why we see penalties that give just points to your opponent. In this case, a 2-point deduction does not mess up your opponent's seed, it only sets you back for when you have messed up and have received a penalty. Same thing with a match loss. It doesn't give your opponent points that they haven't earned, but they still get a win, which is good for their tiebreaker, but not inaccurate. So this is all you need to know to be a staffer at this event. There's a lot more stuff on the back end for Hemascorecard, but that's a video that is a lot longer, and I'm less qualified to make. And also, this took 15 minutes, so maybe we can save that for someone who needs to know it more than the people who are just going to be tabling. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, if you did watch. I'm really happy that you've chosen to start staffing events. It's a great gateway, the community needs you. You can get lots of discounts at places. Yeah, I hope you learned something. And if you didn't, you can always tell me about it or insult me. That works too. I should probably cut that out. I hope to see you at the Chile Charity Challenge. See you later.